Hello, hi, and welcome to the Kotin'Chronicles. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back home. And if you're new to the channel, please do join the tribe by clicking the subscribe button down below to gain you access to exclusive, eco-conscious, sustainable content that does not compromise on style. So if you're ready to join the tribe that does the most, do be sure to subscribe. Today we'll be discussing the fast fashion fallout, and we will be starting with part 1, Life in the Fast Lane. So what exactly is fast fashion? Fast fashion refers to low-priced but stylish clothing that moves quickly from design to retail stores in order to meet trends. So these are indicative of trending styles either on the runway, influenced by celebrity culture, or what's hot in the TikTok shop right now. Case in point.
Okay, so tell me all about this. Wow. I mean, who made it? Wow. Wow. Okay, so something a little different.
Literally speechless. In my research in this subject matter, I came across an article by Good On You, which mentioned that fashion wasn't always the villain. Usually, people would go out and buy clothes when seasons changed or when you outgrew your clothes, which sounds way more normal than what is happening today. Fashion was largely influenced by the Industrial Revolution post the 1800s after major mechanization of processes, sewing machines amongst the slew of machines that were launched, thus making clothes making quicker, cheaper, and easier. The sentiment has not waned as fashion grows, but the landscape has changed. I mean, look at the movement of the 60s and the 70s, and I had to shine a special light to the African and Pan-African movement in the 70s via fashion, because look at how they ate that. Coming onto the rise of the 2000s fashions that we are seeing a resurgence of, especially amongst the Gen Z crew, they are really making this trend their own by giving it a special twist, but the foundations of the 2000s movement will live on. It would be such an injustice for me to touch on the topic of fast fashion without talking about the influx of manual migrant labor that is being used to actually make these items and the conditions in which these people are being subjected to in order to put these items out. I mean, people have been reported to work hours and hours on end, child labor being used, people going home at 3 a.m. and having to come back to the factory as early as 6 a.m. because these production cycles and production lines are so slim. Manual labor has to be used, and often brands opt for migrant labor in different countries because the costs of producing these things are significantly lower as opposed to producing them where the brands are actually located. This presents a problem of people being paid way beyond the minimum wage. They can't afford the cost of living because things are just so mental right now. And this is such an injustice because I don't think we are as bothered as we should be, because I have to get that top as early as this Friday because I have an event on Saturday. But we are not being mindful of the impact that our massive consumption habits are having on other people, because you have given these brands so much power, and I've chosen to look on the other side. And I will get off my soapbox as soon as now. I too often do participate in these habits, but the solution here is to just be 1% better. We're not looking for 100% perfection, and it begins with acknowledging the sacrifices that go behind getting these items out. Part 2, Holy Crap. I thought it essential to touch on hauls, and I have a particularly favorite creator by the name of Amanda Mariana, who has an amazing video that I will link down below on the rise of hauls. So hauls basically refer to a trend where one shows off new and usually large purchases. So hauls encompass a few dangers that I will mention a bit later on, but hauls are definitely not a new concept. With the rise of social media though, the amplification of hauls, the volume and frequency at which we see this content has significantly increased in recent years. Hauls are all about, this is what I got, this is what is new, and this is being pushed on major platforms. I mean, the TikTok For You page for hauls alone was an information overload on my brain, right? Hauls may seem like innocent entertainment at first, and I love me a haul. But there are definitely some potential dangers to haul culture. The first one being that it encourages overconsumption. Hauls are built on the premise of more is more and I need the more. It creates a vacuum of a need that was never there to begin with. Secondly is financial strain. Now all these items that we are seeing here, unless you're an influencer and that is merch, you gotta pay for them, honey, and tariffs and customs do not play. That is why I highly recommend buying local, supporting local brands that are sustainable. Thirdly, it promotes unsustainable practices. Now we know, or we should know, that there are 92 million tons of clothes-related waste each year. Cringe, kesana. But these things often have no place to be thrown. Haul culture promotes materialism. We live in a society where what I'm wearing communicates my affluence. To reference an earlier audio, honey, who made it? On a more serious note, haul culture impacts mental health negatively. It may seem like harmless entertainment, but it can have significant effects on people and the environment if left unchecked. Part 3, the up in upcycling. The face of thrifting has significantly changed in recent years. Thrifting used to be seen as something for the lower class, the have-nots of society, but in recent years, thrifting has become the new thing. Thrift hauls are the talk of the town. You often see creators constantly going into thrifting stores to get the haul of the day. Now, I am not against thrifting. I love a good thrift at a reasonable price. But the problem becomes when we exacerbate the effects of fast fashion through thrifting, through hauls, that we think are solving the problem. But if we are shopping at the same volumes, quantities, and consistencies, we are still feeding the problem at hand. Now, if you've ever lived anywhere in or around Joburg, you know Dunusa Boutique, and I just had to include a special mention. Go and check out this awesome blog by Kensani called Hanger Management about South African fast fashion not being too evil. Now, if you've gotten to this part of the video, you might be asking yourself, okay, what I gotta do with me? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's look into some potential solutions into alleviating the problems that fast fashion has presented to us in the modern landscape. The first thing is consumer awareness and education. Being educated about sustainable practices and getting rid of the misconceptions of what sustainability may mean for our personal style and fashion choices. Secondly is regulations and restrictions, sanctions being put on brands and them being held accountable for their actions. And number 3 is to join our lovely community to learn more about what you can do to build and live a more sustainable life. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.